¿A dónde está papi? 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 ¿A dónde está papi?
Welcome to the Monday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Monday. Welcome, everybody. How's it going, Derry Bennett? All right. We do have quite the amount of things that we have to go through today. Ooh. I hope everyone had a wonderful weekend. Unfortunately, the weekend is not enough. It's not long enough. All right, folks. So we do have quite the amount
Should we
of
put solar panels on agriculture?
we do have quite the amount of stuff to go through. So I guess we should get started. The GOP does suck indeed. I would like to give a quick offline shout out to Oderaber for the offline follow. I appreciate that. All right, let's get this show started, yeah?
Should we put solar panels on agricultural forestry zoned land? That's a heated debate going on all over the US right now, particularly thanks to a nonprofit group called Citizens for Responsible Solar. Now, this question is innocent and fair, but this group is anything but, so that's what we're going to talk about today.
Cool.
Hey y'all, it's Becky here from the Beckosphere, where we talk about all aspects of the climate crisis and the clean energy transition. If you want to stay updated on these very important issues, I highly recommend you hitting the subscribe button below and ringing the bell so you don't miss every single time I post. Welcome to the new subscribers. I know there's a few of you from the last video, and I appreciate you being here. And if you're a longtime subscriber, thank you for coming back again and again. You are what keeps me hopeful about this whole thing. So I promise that I'll get back to the weekly climate recaps with the fun facts about Rue starting next week, but for now I really want to talk about the Citizens for Responsible Solar and the conversations around ground solar in general.
Before we start, I want to shout out two amazing artists that recently did little portraits of me, which is just so cool. The first one is River Kai, who did this lovely piece with Rue and I. River Kai actually creates LGBTQ friendly comic books about
cool.
Two guys in space. So if that sounds like something that would be down your alley, definitely check them out. I will link their information.
Tell me that's not an awesome depiction right there. Hey, Echo Wrestle Dragon, how's it going?
Down in the description below. And then the other artwork is done by an artist that goes by the name Salty Paints, and they recently were doing different portraits of different Twitch streamers while watching their streams, and so that's how they came across me. So thank you very much. I will also link their information in the description below. Thank you so much to both of you for such cool art pieces.
So, Citizens for Responsible Solar is a nonprofit founded in 2019 by a longtime conservative political operative named Susan Ralston. We'll talk more about Ralston in a bit. According to the website, the mission of the group is to, quote, advocate for responsible solar policies that balance the demand for renewable energy with the interests of counties and their residents. We raise awareness about what is happening in rural communities and work to save agricultural forestry zoned land from large industrial scale solar developments. It sounds at first like a noble goal, so let's first
large industrial solar, like, I don't know, man. Red flags.
This concern, starting with forestry. Are industrial scale solar farms really causing deforestation? In some places, yes. For example, Dominion Energy just got a 15 megawatt solar farm approved in the Roanoke River region that involves removing 3,500 acres of forest. This floodplain they're developing on is one of the most ecologically valuable and intact forests in the Mid-Atlantic, according to the Nature Conservancy. So yeah, I'm not a fan of this project. Similar projects have taken out over 1,000 acres of forest in Rhode Island and Massachusetts. Though these projects are controversial, they're not necessarily the norm, since half of ground solar is located in desert spaces. And most environmentalists and conservationists can agree that this is not how we should be building the clean energy transition.
Yeah.
I will say that it is pretty funny that people are
also, like, there's so much, like, square areas on top of buildings, roofs, I mean, on top of, like, roads, like highways. You can build an entire solar panel systems. I mean, yeah, you don't really have to resort to making things worse, so to speak.
are blocking clean energy projects that cause any deforestation while completely looking the other way at fossil fuel projects when they do it, but that's neither here nor there. I know that the clean energy transition has some attached morality to it that the fossil fuel industry does not seem to have, and that we should strive to do better in this transition, but I couldn't help but mention that irony. Anyways, projects like these mainly exist because untouched forest is still considered cheap land. The benefit of this is that utility scale solar is currently the cheapest form of energy, even cheaper than fracked gas in many cases. But solar can still remain one of the cheapest forms of energy without having to compromise natural spaces because the price drop is the solar technology itself. So that's the main reason why solar is as cheap as it is. If we push governments to recognize the true environmental cost in project assessments, this land wouldn't be as appealing to buy up for development purposes because it wouldn't be considered as cheap. Developing on ecologically rich spaces like the Roanoke River region goes directly against another initiative the US has, which is to conserve 30% of lands and waters by 2030, which is also essential for combating and adapting to climate change. While it's
of course. The problem here is that we don't have an administration that's really serious about this. I mean, we've got Biden on one hand attempting to say that, we're gonna indefinitely protect, certain amount of million of acres from drilling, while also also simultaneously allowing a massive oil project to go through. So it's kind of hard to trust them. Where in Massachusetts is this? I don't know. It's Roanoke something. Let me see here.
Solar is as cheap as it is. If we push governments to recognize the true environmental cost in project assessments, this land wouldn't be as appealing to buy up for development purposes because it wouldn't be considered as cheap. Developing on ecologically rich spaces like the Roanoke River region goes directly against another initiative the US has, which is to conserve 30% of lands and waters by 2030, which is also essential for combating and adapting to climate change. While it's estimated that we need enough solar to cover the size of West Virginia to meet our clean energy goals, utilizing rooftops, car parks, and already degraded spaces could get...
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. There's like buildings. There's a lot of surface area on buildings. Parking lots that you could make as a way of making like shade. Just have solar panels on top of like big, roofs.
Get us there without having to deforest any more land. We just need governments to provide incentives to push the industry in that direction instead. But bottom line, deforestation is a fair concern. Now let's talk about agricultural land. These flat spaces are appealing because they usually are near transmission lines, making it easier to connect projects to the grid. But does this mean that solar is taking up valuable agriculture space? Well, it depends on whether or not this decision was made by farmers or bought off by utility companies. In many cases, farmers will choose to add solar to their fields to supplement income during off seasons. These panels can coexist with roaming livestock. In fact, having solar on the land can actually promote biodiversity in an area if some of the sunlight can make it through those panels. There's also a concept called agrivoltaics, where solar panels can help shade crops that don't like direct sunlight. This actually increases the efficiency of the panels too, which absorb more of the sun's energy when they're cooler. So the plants underneath actually cool the panels through transpiration processes. All of this is to say, solar panels and agricultural land doesn't have to be an either-or situation, and the only reason it is again utility companies and municipalities trying to find the cheapest and easiest way to install solar energy, which does not always include the farmers. I think it's also important to note that we do have plenty of land in the US to meet our food demands, even with solar being put in some places. We're not even using our agricultural land efficiently because over 40% of it is used to house and feed livestock, despite meat only needing to make up 10 to 30% of our calorie consumption, but that's a topic for a whole other video. Bottom line, some of these concerns about ground solar
Zeoduke, how's it going?
land use are valid and some are kind of overblown. So now let's compare what we've just learned with what Ralston's group, Citizens for Responsible Solar, are arguing. One of the first projects the group took on was to block development of an industrial solar project in Spotsylvania, Virginia, which would have made for the largest solar farm east of the Rockies. It was actually deemed as a good investment by the local county supervisor at the time. Greg Benton, who considers himself a Republican, said he took months to go through all of the environmental assessments and determined that it would be a net benefit for the community. But Citizens for Responsible Solar whipped the community up in a frenzy about the project and wouldn't let it be approved. It surprised Benton, who told NPR and Floodlight that he had already looked at all of the concerns that people brought up and debunked them, but they just kept coming in regardless. Quote, I think initially they were concerned about it and they had some legitimate concerns. I think it was from bad information, just information that was not true, not factually based. Turns out spreading misinformation about solar technology is a key tenet to the group.
Yeah, I was about to say another way of putting it is misinformation. Yeah.
While the Citizens for Responsible Solar site underscores a lot of legitimate concerns involving deforestation, it conflates land dedicated to forests and land dedicated to agriculture as having the same level of impact. And they can have an overlap and they're kind of in the same category of land designation, but it doesn't mean that every single space in that category should not have solar on it. The group has actually kept farmers from putting solar on their own land to help supplement their income and consider that a success story on their website. And then there's the 5 things you need to know about solar, which takes it a step further to make common claims to refute, frankly, any solar installation regardless of location. Now, this video was not going to be a whole debunking solar misinformation video, but I want to give you a little taste of what we're working with here. The first claim ignores the environmental impact of the alternative, fossil fuels. It also suggests that solar cells leak chemicals into the waterways.
This is a compilation video from their website of protesters of a solar project in Culpeper, Virginia, which was actually the first project that the group took on.
Duck Run that feed into the Rapidan River and the Chesapeake Bay watershed could negatively impact resident groundwater and the environment.
Part of the watershed, this is also designated as wetland.
The runoffs were all on well water. Are those runoffs going to affect our water?
To be clear, it's not that solar panels don't leak chemicals, because they do, but it's when they're in landfill after use. And these solar panels can last around 25 to 30 years. So again, it's more of a conversation having to do with the recycling industry more than it's an argument against using the solar panels at all.
The second claim is propped up by disdain for big corporations greenwashing themselves, which frankly has nothing to do with the tax credit itself. Also, 2 of the 3 sources the group uses to dismiss the production tax credit as expensive and unnecessary are either directly or indirectly funded by the fossil fuel industry. It also ignores that U.S. taxpayers give at least $20 billion to fossil fuel companies annually and have done so for way longer than they have supported clean energy. The third claim is an argument for building a recycling industry, not an argument against solar technology. Also, e-tech waste is a problem with all technology, not just solar. And it's another example of ignoring the environmental impact of the alternative, which is fossil fuels. The fourth claim ignores energy storage as a concept and how U.S. energy sources are still too mixed for inconsistency to really be a concern at this point anyways. And the fifth claim ignores how every stage of fossil fuel production, transportation, and use results in way more emissions than solar, so switching to solar is overwhelmingly a net reduction in carbon emissions. Perfection is the death of progress. There's also a sixth argument that they like to use that was not on this page, which is property value. Now, I've looked at the studies into property value, and studies on whether nearby solar farms hurt neighbors' property value shows mixed results, from increasing property values due to supply.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. Last thing I'm worried about is fucking property values, okay? You know what else devaluates property values? Fucking climate change, okay? You know?
Supporting clean energy to reducing property values if the solar installation reduces how much greenery is around. It seems to be a case-by-case basis, but because it's so mixed, it shouldn't be an argument against solar installations altogether. or for. It just shouldn't be an argument. Citizens for Responsible Solar makes it out to be a net negative completely, which is just misinformation. And a little ironic because they claim that any study funded by the solar industry only shows a net positive, even though then they support sources funded by the fossil fuel industry. So cool. The site is full of articles that are actually trustworthy sources talking about legitimate problems with the solar industry. I coincidentally used one of the opinion pieces in the research of this video, but they use these articles to make it seem like because there's these problems, the technology shouldn't be used at all, which misses the nuance that I'm sure most of these articles present, including the fact that despite these flaws, we still should.
Right, like, it's this argument, or well, it's not really an argument. It's a way of attempting to divert attention to any actual possible solution, so that the only conclusion that people come to is that we should just continue to do business as usual, which of course only benefits fossil fuels. I mean, which is the goal.
Should move towards making solar a much bigger piece of our energy portfolio in general. So it seems like overall Citizens for Responsible Solar has an agenda beyond helping concerned citizens advocate against deforestation in the name of solar, and that's because it does. This is where we go back to Ralston and her background. So Ralston has been in the political game for decades. She worked as a special assistant for George W. Bush until she resigned following an investigation that uncovered messages she sent from a disgraced former lobbyist, Jack Ambernoff, to her boss at the time, Karl Rove. The investigation didn't accuse her of any wrongdoing, but helping lobbyists negotiate with White House staff members is not usually considered the most ethical of things. She then started her own consulting firm, SBR Enterprises LLC, which received $300,000 from the Paul E. Singer Foundation between 2018 and 2020, and that foundation's president and namesake, Paul Singer, is a chairman of the Manhattan Institute, which is where most climate skeptics you see on the Daily Wire and PragerU come from. He's also provided money to Bjorn Lomborg's think tank, the Copenhagen...
Oh my god, this fucking Bjorn Lom, whatever the fuck, this guy is so fucking cringe. This guy unironically triggers me. This guy is such a professional skeptic. This dude makes his bread and butter on climate change denial.
Started her own consulting firm, SBR Enterprises LLC, which received $300,000 from the Paul E. Singer Foundation between 2018 and 2020, and that foundation's president and namesake, Paul Singer, is a chairman of the Manhattan Institute, which is where most climate skeptics you see on the Daily Wire and PragerU come from.
Damn, really? The Manhattan? Yeah, jeez. Yeah, this is the kind of stuff that should be on everybody's radar. This is some good shit right here. This is some grade A, and this is some grade A content right here. Michael Hassler, how's it going? Here you go, folks. If you want to give a like, share, subscribe, whatever, do the thing. Breaking news, Fox News enters a panic mode of second defamation suit. Ha, nice. We'll see if if any of that comes to fruition, but that would be nice. That would make, honestly, that would make my day. If I wake up and read that Fox News was basically nuked off the fucking planet with a $2 billion whatever dollar lawsuit that they can no longer hold operations or something like that. Let's just say I wouldn't shed a tear. Fuck him.
He's also provided money to Bjorn Lomborg's think tank, the Copenhagen Consensus, which espouses that climate change is actually a good thing for humanity.
Right.
Yay!
That, I swear, that Bjorn motherfucker, oh, that guy triggers me. God, what a fucking dishonest hack.
And Singer's investment firm Elliott Management is the largest shareholder of the coal producer Peabody Energy Corp.
I would also like to point out that, Jordan Peterson, when he was on, right now, Jordan Peterson must be, on his meds, must be on the benzos again. But he for a while went on like he went on well, he probably still does this, on a climate change like denial streak, and he was like frequently retweeting or liking this fucking guy's stuff, Bjorn, whatever the fuck.
So there's a fossil fuel tie before she even started Citizens for Responsible Solar. When Ralston decided to start the group, she consulted with Dr. Rich Sewer, sorry if I mispronounced that, a longtime anti-renewables advocate that backed Trump's unfounded claim that the sound from wind turbines causes cancer. She also consulted with John Droz, who is a member of the CO2 Coalition, which touts, quote, the important contribution made by carbon dioxide to our lives and the economy. Unsurprisingly, that's supported by the Koch brothers. Droz has a long history of successfully stalling clean energy projects and has a particular vendetta against wind energy. Citizens for Responsible Solar uses the law services of Jason Torchinsky, who has represented the American Legislative Exchange Council, or ALEC, and ALEC is an extremely powerful legislative group that writes conservative law templates in favor of interests of corporations that they partner with, including Peabody Energy, Koch Industries, and ExxonMobil. They're also the same group that blocked action against the tobacco industry for a while. Lovely. Banning cities from being able to ban gas appliances? That's ALEC. Despite all of these connections, Ralston maintains that her group has never received any fossil fuel money. Maybe not directly, but all these ties are notable, in my opinion. And here's the kicker. Citizens for Responsible Solar has moved beyond Virginia to squash solar projects in 11 other states, including Nevada, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. The group outfits communities with the science and downsides of solar and sometimes connects them with climate skeptics like Droz, who we talked about a little bit ago. Ralston has basically created a playbook on how to ban utility-scale solar in communities, which has been so successful that clean energy advocates from both sides of the aisle are raising concern. For example, Ray Gazer, who is the chair of the Iowa Conservative Energy Forum, which promotes renewable energy to drive economic growth, called Citizens for Responsible Solar a, quote, dark money organization, and has written op-eds condemning the group's actions in his state. Quote, their mission is to kill new development, not to help develop common sense ordinances. The local fights the group has engaged in fit into a larger concerning trend against solar developments. A 2022 report by the Sabin Center at Columbia University found 121 local policies around the country that are aimed at blocking or restricting renewable energy development, a nearly 18% increase from the year before. Overall, 31 states have passed more than 100 ordinances blocking new development of solar, wind, and other renewable projects. And this is a very bad trend at the worst possible time, and can threaten progress made through the recently passed Inflation Reduction Act, which allocates money and resources for spurring clean energy development, but relies on states to implement it. And these recent legislative moves don't really follow how Americans view clean energy in general. A 2022 Pew Research study found that 72% of Americans surveyed want the federal government to expand solar and wind energy production. That's quite high, despite opinions on this issue getting more politically polarized thanks to groups like Citizens for Responsible Solar and ALEC. To sum up my thoughts on this, I don't think that we should prioritize building solar farms over protecting wild spaces. And I don't think that's a really controversial take. And if that's all that Citizens for Responsible Solar was fighting for, then I would have supported this group. But using residents...
Yeah, but it's not. It's a front for more bullshit, as she pointed out.
Legitimate concerns to wage all-out war on any ground solar installations and using misinformation to spread fear is regressive. The group uses misinformation to convince citizens to go against their best interests and promotes community infighting. Solar is the cheapest energy source out there, and if farmers want to supplement their income by adding panels to their land, they absolutely should have the right to do so. After all, solar panels don't hurt a community's air and water quality like fossil fuel operations do. So those are my thoughts. What are yours on where solar should go in general and what Citizens for Responsible Solar are doing? Have you had any personal interactions with the group? Let me know all of your thoughts down in the comment section below. Until next time, remember to talk about the climate crisis every single day and to support your local news organizations.
True.
Thank you so much to the people on Patreon who helps.
Cool. Do the thing, folks. Like, comment, subscribe, whatever. Also, join her streams on Tuesdays and Fridays. You may or may not see me there. All right, so I guess we should just talk about this really quickly. President Biden approves massive oil project in Alaska, moves to bar future drilling in the Arctic Ocean. The Biden administration on Monday, today, approved the controversial Willow Oil project, clearing the way for one of the largest new oil and gas developments on federal land in Alaska in 20 years, despite fierce oppositions from environmental activists. Yeah, like there's absolutely no reason this needs to be happening at this point in time. At all. This shouldn't even be a discussion. The move came as President Biden also signaled sweeping future actions to bar offshore drilling on 2.8 million acres in the Arctic Ocean, an appeal to critics who say he betrayed his commitment to fight climate change. I mean, yeah, dude. While that is good that, you know, you're trying to ban offshore drilling for this amount of acres or whatever, the problem is that you still allowed a new massive fossil fuel project that is going to perpetuate fossil fuels for decades to come. We don't need this anymore. This is not the time to be. This is not the time to be on the side of fossil fuels. Not at all. The move came as President Biden also signaled sweeping future action to bar. The $8 billion Willow project planned by Houston-based petroleum company ConocoPhillips. Oh man, that name sounds familiar. Marks a shift in the Biden administration's handling of major fossil fuel projects after approving few without congressional or court interventions. The Willow project is targeted for land within the National Petroleum Reserve, Alaska, and approximately 23 million acre pristine area on the Beaufort Sea, north of the Arctic Circle, about 200 miles west of existing oil fields in Prudhoe Bay. The Interior Department approved 3 of 5 drilling project sites proposed by ConocoPhillips, denying the other 2 reduced the original size of the 200-well project by about 40% and eliminated 11 miles of road, 20 miles of pipeline, and 133 acres of gravel that would have been required. The company agreed to relinquish 68,000 acres of existing leases in the National Petroleum Reserve, reducing its footprint in the reserve by a third. These steps will create a, quote, buffer between oil development and development activities and migration routes for caribou in the area. Yeah, okay, but the problem here is that I don't trust these fuckers. There's no reason why we need to continue rubber stamping these projects. Or I should say, approving these projects. At all. In anticipation of a backlash from climate activists, the Biden administration on Sunday proposed rules to block future oil and gas leases within more than 13 million acres of the 23 million acre National Petroleum Reserve in Alaska. The rule would block oil and gas leasing, and I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce that. These areas. Utah Uplands, Colville River, Kasagalik Lagoon, and Peard Bay, which are known for globally significant habitat, including grizzly and polar bears, caribou, migratory birds, according to the Interior Department. Biden's action to indefinitely bar future offshore drilling on 2.8 million acres in the Arctic Ocean will complete protections for the entire Beaufort Sea, building upon efforts made during the Obama administration. The Biden... come back. Oh, God. This website sucks. Okay. The Biden administration was limited by legal restraints in reviewing the Willow Oil project, according to a White House official who said the company had vowed rights on the land because of decade-old leases. That's such bullshit. Whatever. The administration was convinced the courts would have backed an outright rejection of the Willow project and potentially imposed fines on the government, said the official, who spoke of about the White House's consideration on the condition of anonymity. The approval, Stop Willow climate activists blast Biden. The approval of the Willow project was met with swift criticism by environmental activists who had rallied under a Stop Willow hashtag on social media to try to halt the project. The Biden administration's approval make it clear that its call for climate action and protection of biodiversity is talk, not action, said Sonia Akevak, outreach coordinator for the Sovereign Inupiat for a Living Arctic, a group of indigenous environmental justice activists. Kirsten Moncello, senior attorney for the Center of Biological Diversity, called Biden's actions appalling and vowed to continue to fight to keep the Willow from breaking ground. People and wildlife will suffer, and extracting and burning more fossil fuel will warm the climate even faster. Biden has no excuse for letting this project go forward in any form. Yeah, so basically the problem here is that we should not be, at this point, endorsing or giving the green light in any way, shape, or form to any new fossil fuel projects. Like, end of story. Period. Abigail Dillon, the president of Earth Justice, accused the Biden administration of betraying its core commitment of ending runaway climate change. ConocoPhillips' Willow Project shocks the conscious. It will open up the whole of the Western Arctic to drilling for many decades and devastating a fragile ecosystem and people who depend on it. Yeah, again, the problem here is that once this project gets going and this gets set up, it's essentially going to essentially what it's saying is that fossil fuels in this area are going to be pumped for the next X amount of decades. Echo Wrestle Dragon, how's it going? Did you hear about Boebert? No, like what do you mean? The her son? Lauren Boebert rails against sex ed and then announces her 17-year-old son is having a baby with a 15-year-old girlfriend. Oh yeah, no, these people have no principles whatsoever at all. These people have no, and then to like have the audacity to make the statement that like the reason why teen pregnancies are more prominent in rural conservative areas is because they value life more is just absurd to me. The fact that she's even trying to spin this as in a positive note is wild to me. Just to be clear, I'm not that much younger than she is. I'm 38. Yeah, can you imagine like being a grandparent? Nah, hard pass. And also like, damn, why are you putting this 15-year-old through this when there are other options? Unfreaking believable. Yeah, these people, this is exactly the reason why these people should never ever be allowed anywhere near power. Wait, was that not statutory rape? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think it's like, maybe I'm wrong, but I think that still falls under like the whole like Romeo and Juliet, and also they were both like in high school, I think. I don't know if it's gonna get to that level. It's much different if one of the parties was significantly older and regardless of consent or not, it would be considered statutory rape. What is the age of consent in that state? I have no idea. I have no idea. What is it, Colorado? It's 17. It's 17, but also the Romeo and Juliet stuff that might come into play. Her son asks, "Well, didn't you make Granny a 36-year-old granny?" To which Bovert replied, "Yes, warranting some law." What? Becoming okay, that's not making it any better. And second of all, that's considered humor among a conservative audience. Imagine like glorifying teen pregnancy and then boasting about it and how it's actually a good thing because it shows that it shows that they value the sanctity of life or whatever bullshit is what she said. Oh my goodness. Jesus. Conservatism, folks, not even once. Not even once. Alaska officials widely support the project, of course, because it would bring an estimated 1,000 construction jobs and 400 permanent jobs, while also ensuring the Trans-Alaska Pipeline system that keeps operating, or revenues provide about 1/3 of the state's annual budget and allow the state to provide an annual dividend to residents at about $3,284 last year. Or you can make significant investments into renewable projects that could also probably bring in revenue too. I mean, okay, whatever. Some of the Alaskan Native people who live in the area support the project because it would mean a significant financial boost to their small communities. The fossil fuel industry applauded Biden for signing off on Willow, but criticized the Arctic protections. No. You can't have it all. Fuck off. The Frank Macchiarola, Senior Vice President of the Policy of Economics and Regulatory Affairs at the American Petroleum Institute, said the new rules on offshore drilling send mixed signals on energy policy. Energy policy? No, notice the framing on that. It's not energy policy, it's fossil fuel policy, because we can get energy from renewables. Okay? So keep that in mind, folks. When fossil fuel folks use that type of rhetoric, they want people to equate fossil fuels with energy and energy with fossil fuels. But that's not the case. That doesn't necessarily have to be the case. By imposing these restrictions, the Department of Interior appears to be treating their statutory obligations as a bargaining chip. He called on the Biden administration to focus instead of real solutions to deliver energy and cut down on emissions. Okay, but we can't deliver energy? You mean fossil fuels? No, dude. There's other ways of creating energy and cutting emissions. Supporting new fossil fuel projects is not the way to go. Is not the way to go. Marty Durbin, president of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce's Global Energy Institute, says it's disappointing that the administration is taking vast amounts of oil, natural gas in the Arctic off the table for production. I mean, yeah, dude, it's good. Fuck off. Russia's invasion of Ukraine has made the importance of U.S. production clearer than ever. Not only does the U.S. Oil and Natural Gas act as a check on those who seek to weaponize energy, again, it's this rhetoric to weaponize energy. No, you're not talking about weaponizing energy. You're talking about weaponizing fossil fuels. So instead, why don't we find systems that don't depend on fossil fuels? If it's such a problem that you find yourself hamstrung, that you find yourselves hamstrung by this, maybe we should start switching. Yeah, you forgot about that? Really? The U.S. imports a huge amount of our fossil fuel, so even if we don't mine our own, we just get it elsewhere. Okay, that's a completely separate point from from we shouldn't continue to perpetuate new fossil fuel projects. It's a completely separate statement. Anyways, not only does U.S. oil and natural gas act as a check on who weapons energy, which is bullshit, it's also better for the environment than gas produced in Russia and other nations. No, we should not be opening up the doors for new fossil fuel projects, period. That's what's better for the environment. Okay? That's what's better for the environment. Don't be deceived by the fossil fuel industry, folks. This is bullshit, okay? Hold on, folks. Huh. Well, I'll have to do more research on this, but this is just from today, not too long ago. An ivermectin influencer died. Now his followers are worried about their own severe symptoms. Yeah. Turns out, taking something in a manner in which it's not supposed to be used can have adverse effects. Who knew? Especially taking doses from that medication that is not designed for humans. If you're taking veterinary grade ivermectin, because you saw on some stupid fucking podcast or some YouTube video or whatever, and you decided that this was your best course of action, unfortunately, these are consequences. And this guy was an influencer and was telling his supporters to give it to children. Yeah. For the last decade, Lemoy had taken a daily dose of veterinary ivermectin, which is the version designed to treat large animals, not for people. In 2021, as ivermectin became a popular alternative treatment among anti-vaxxers, he launched what became the largest Telegram channels dedicated to promoting the use of it, including instructions on how to administer ivermectin to children. No. No. Who sees veterinary grade and think that's the stuff to give to the kids? Clowns like this who end up finding themselves unalived. Despite Lemoyne's death, administrators of Hacienda are pushing his misinformation even as his followers share their own worrying possible side effects. And some are questioning the safety of the drug. Yeah, dude. If you're using this in a manner that it's not supposed to be used in, no shit. No shit. And like, to anybody who's pushing this idea that there's like absolutely no side effects, okay, if you use it as if you use it properly, if you use it as the you know, uses that it's meant to do, then yeah, of course. Of course, if you have a problem with, like, I don't know, you need like a dewormer or some kind of issue that ivermectin is designed to solve, that is a whole different story. And you go to your doctor and you get that prescribed because of that specific use that you need that, you know, medication for. That is a different, whole different ballpark. I didn't take the vaccine, but people can't go, don't put chemicals in your system like vaccines and slam down a vetter. Yeah, well, it's not a chemical though. I don't know what putting chemical system, like, I don't know. That's just nonsense. That's nonsense. A heavy equipment operator who lived in Rhode Island passed away unexpectedly. He was survived by his parents, and his brother. The obituary gave no details about the cause of his death. Everything is a chemical? Well, now we're getting into semantics. No, you're not talking about like a chemical, because when you say like chemical, the implication is like, you know, you're putting a chemical into your body. I'm not going to sit here and have a pedantic argument, okay? Though it was obvious that Danny had the biggest heart, it's unbeknownst to him that his heart was quite literally overworking and overgrowing beyond its capacity and nearly doubled in size from what it should have been. We understand that this is going to raise questions for those who are following him. Yeah, no shit. No shit. The Emmons added that Lemoyne got undergone testing of its heart and results had showed no cause for concern. He began taking the version of ivermectin designed for animals on a daily basis in 2012 after he was diagnosed with Lyme disease. Why would you be doing this? He said after 5 months, whoa, really? Whatever. Stupid fucking page. Alright. Anyways, I was being pedantic. I was pointing out to the men that say, I don't know what that means. That is everything, blah, 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 blah. Okay, chemistry, chemicals. I feel like we don't be pedantic. I feel like if we don't do pedantics, don't, like, slam me over pedantics. Wait, what? I'm saying when you make a statement like, quote, don't put chemicals in your system like vaccines, it makes it seem like you're putting chemicals. Like you're not saying it as if like, obviously no shit, everything is a chemical. You're giving it like a negative connotation. Stick to the basics. Vaccines are good. Science and taking vaccines for horses. Well, medication for horses, yes. Yeah, taking medications designed for horses is bad. I was quoting the anti-vax choir. I'm not anti-vax, I just didn't take them. Okie dokie. Anti-vaxxers again? I will find out. Anyways, because of the stupid page not cooperating, I think we can kind of get the gist of the story. So essentially what happened, because I got to peruse it before it crashed, while we were doing that other video. I got to peruse. In fact, why don't we do this? Here. I'll just copy the link and you guys can take a look at it on your own time if it works for you guys. But the gist of the article is that apparently because he was taking this ivermectin, which was designed at a veterinary level, it basically screwed up his heart. if you want to put it in a TLDR scenario, it it screwed up his heart or messed something with his heart. You guys can read it for yourselves. Unfortunately, this is not cooperating. So I'll just post the link in chat. All right. Let's take a look at this professional clown.
I mean the life expectancy of the average American right now is about 77 years old. For people who are in their 20s, their life expectancy will probably be 85 to 90. Does it really make sense to allow someone who's in their 20s today to retire at 62? Those are the kind of things that we should talk about.
Yeah,
There
listen,
changes-
listen up, pores. All right, listen up, plebs. Listen up, plebs. Get ready to work till you're fucking 77. Okay. Get ready to work until you're 77. The fuck is wrong with you? And foghorn leghorn, exactly.
In Medicare we should talk about.
Yeah, so it's very clear. No matter what Republicans tell you, I don't think you get to decide if it makes sense. Let me retire. Well, these guys don't want you to retire. They in their ideal world, you would work until you die. Okay, you would work until you die to serve capitalism. That's it. That is your only purpose. Anyways, good memes. Cool. The thing about these rich guys is that they will all retire when they want to on their own inherited money. Poor people keep working even if used to be a builder and now use a Zimmer. What? No politician wants you to retire. It's like asking for less money. I mean, well, yeah, they want you to never retire because they serve capital. That's it. That's it. They want you to work until you die. That's it.
Okay, so I love this story so much because it shows you how hollow these anti-LGBTQ plus Republicans are. And I actually don't think that they really know the effect of the policies that they are producing. So we'll see a video here in a moment, but let me just give you a little bit of context. GOP lawmaker blasted by fellow Republican over proposed Missouri Don't Say Gay law. So, I mean, these are popping up everywhere. Not necessarily that surprising, but the author of the bill, or I should say the sponsor of the bill, just cannot defend her position. So a Missouri lawmaker unloaded on a fellow GOP colleague. Presumably we have Republican on Republican violence here, which is always good to see. Behind a bill modeled after Florida's Don't Say Gay law, State Representative Ann Kelly sponsored House Bill 634, which would ban sexual classroom instruction by school personnel or third parties relating to sexual orientation or...
Right, so essentially what it sounds like to me is that they're trying to ban sex ed, which as Lauren Boebert, another Republican, has very, very, very openly told us is a very bad thing. And lo and behold, not only was she a teen parent, but now her teen is a parent as well. It's because they don't want kids to have proper sex education. Why? Well, sounds like a bit of a self-report, you know?
or gender identity shall occur, but under questioning from GOP colleague Phil Cristofanelli, Kelly didn't appear to understand the implications
No sex
of her
ed and no
own
abortion is a
bill.
curious mix. Oh no, not curious at all. It's very obvious. Quote, hereditary. Yeah.
So, Cristofanelli, a conservative Republican who is openly gay, asked if under the law, Martha Washington could be identified as the nation's first president's wife. So that makes sense, because it's always curious to see a Republican questioning their colleague if they are being homophobic, but here you have somebody who is self-interested. He's gay,
Bob
and
Dragon.
he thinks that this is homophobic. First of all, Cristofanelli, you might want to leave the Republican Party if you are concerned about homophobia, but that's a different topic for a different day. Let's watch this exchange because it was just so incredible. In fact, let me zoom out a little bit so you can see. Like, I want to zoom in so you can see, but my box is blocking it. So
make
press
the
play.
box smaller,
I'm just going
Mike.
to read you the language in your bill. No classroom instruction by school personnel or third parties relating to sexual orientation or gender identity shall occur. Lady, you mentioned George Washington. Who is Martha Washington?
His wife.
Under your bill, how could you mention that in a classroom?
So to me, that's not sexual orientation.
Whoa.
Really?
So heterosexuals are not a sexual orientation. Gotcha. Thank you, Republican Party. Oh man, thank you. Cool. Nice meme. Man, these people, I swear, they literally just they literally their only like goal here is just to be absolute assholes to the LGBTQ community. That's it. They're not thinking. They're just all feels in this one. They're just all feels. Hey, Salty Commie, how's it going? It's infuriating and gratifying at the same time what fools they make. Yeah, because it's not they never intended they never intended for it to be questioned. It was all about how you could rile up the feelies against and hurl that against the LGBTQ community. That's it. That's all it was. That's all it is. It's just fear, anger, and bigotry. That's it. Never mind the consequences. Never mind the actual logic behind whatever actions you take. It's just that simple. Hope your stream is going well. It is. Thank you, and thank you for hanging out. This video is making the rounds, but it's very good. Oh yeah, no, this is gold.
So it's only really certain sexual orientations that you want.
Correct, because it's never about. It's just basically like I just want to be a bigot. I just want to be an asshole to the LGBTQ community. That's it. That's all it is. It's nothing past that.
Prohibited from
Pat,
introduction in the
Do you
classroom.
have language to make that better, to make it where you're not talking?
Lady, I didn't introduce your bill.
Okay.
And I didn't write it. You wrote it, and so I'm asking what it means. Which sexual orientations do you believe should be prohibited from Missouri classrooms?
Right, which of course, I'm going to take a peek or a gander or a wager that she's going to try to skedaddle out of that one. But we all know.
We all have a moral compass.
A moral compass? What the fuck does that mean?
And my moral compass
Says I should be a bigot. Gotcha. All right, cool. Thanks.
is compared with the Bible.
Oh, whoa. Okay, hold on. Whoa. Holy yikes, Batman. These people, the moment that any politician says that, they should be immediately disqualified. They should be immediately disqualified. Full stop.
Lady, I believe
I
during your
believe-
testimony, you said that you didn't want teachers' personal beliefs entering the classroom, but it's
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, this lady, oh dude, she's just getting completely destroyed. Holy shit. So is it illegitimate in this discourse about public policy? Yep. Judge not lest you be judged. Talisa is a gay person, and then I can judge all I want. Yeah, unless it's a gay person, right? Then all bigotry is off. Then yes, then all bigotry is off. The GOP and MAGA people, do you think that they would be smarter? No, they don't. They don't care. They want a theocratic, authoritarian state. That's what it is. That's what this whole Christianity bullshit is. Okay, that's what this leads to. This is why this is such a fucking plague. This whole religious zealotry needs to fucking go. And if you're like in politics, if you're a politician, an elected politician, and this is your response, you should be immediately disqualified. Okay? You should be immediately disqualified. If you have personal beliefs, that's a different story. But they are personal. Okay? They are personal. They are personal. Fascism is carrying a cross wrapped in a flag. Yep. Communists talking about the right being authoritarian. That's hilarious. Yeah, I mean, dude, do you not see what's happening? Looks like you have a low energy troll. Yeah, they don't try anymore. They don't try these days. Talking about the right being authoritarian. I'm not talking about the right being authoritarian. I'm pretty much putting it on display. They're doing it. I don't even have to, honestly, I could just sit here and let them do the talking. Okay? I don't have to say anything. The right is doing all that for us. That's a good meme, Echo Resto Dragon. That's amazing. That's a good meme. I will pray for you. Nah, no need, dude. No need. No need. No thank you. No thank you. Why do you think autocracy will be for them? That's the bit that makes no sense at all. The defenestration seems to be for any... I don't know what that means. Okay. Authoritarianism is when I can't say gay and trans, bash anyone, and then get away with it. Exactly. Imagine thinking that you're gonna come into this channel. Imagine thinking that you're gonna come into this channel with this fucking nonsense. It means chucking enemies out of windows happening. Oh, okay. I have no idea what this... Okay. That's cool. Cherry picking what points the believe in laws and countries do not work on faith. Yeah, that's a big problem with religion, isn't it? Faith. Faith. Because people like whatever, CatTube, whatever the fuck, people like that essentially are conditioned to believe shit with no evidence. That's what faith conditions you to have that mindset. Yeah. Such a fucking plague. The whole prayers things changed my mind. I used to believe the working class should benefit from fruits of its labors. Now I believe one rich dude should own everything. True. True. This was a good meme, by the way.
It seemed a lot like your personal belief. You would like to enter all Missouri classrooms.
You can believe something without. Oh,
what? Without what? Without what? Huh? Oh my god. Man, her mind is getting ready to perform the most Olympic levels of mental gymnastics to attempt to justify this. This is amazing.
putting that onto somebody by the way you behave. And you can have beliefs and morals and values that guide you through life.
Okay, but if those start to interfere with the policies that you preside over, you present, that affect other people who don't share this nonsense of this bullshit Christian nonsense, then yeah, this has no business in government. This has no business in government. If you are a Christian, keep that shit to yourself, okay? It has no business being in the fucking political. It has no business legislating. Does anyone else living their life by their own morals affect your bullshit? Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
I don't
Keep it to
dispute that,
yourself.
but I'm asking about the language of your bill and how it would permit the mention of the historical figure Martha Washington. Could you explain that to me?
So what does she, why is she famous? Is she famous because she's married to George Washington?
Whoa! You can't talk about sexual orientation. You just broke your own bill, lady.
It seems like that would be a relevant fact in her biography, yes. Could it be mentioned under the plain reading language of your bill?
It's a yes or no question.
Is that a no?
I don't know, sir.
Okay.
Oh man,
I love trying to find my.
the clowns, literally. Oh man, the logic here.
That was incredible. And I love how when it came to the Bible portion, she's like, well, you can believe something without like pushing it on other people. Like, I'm paraphrasing what she said, but you're literally passing a bill
that affects everyone in the area. Yes. Yes. Have you seen Anna's video about the abortion? It hits the same point. You can believe what you want, just don't push it. Yep.
to push your religion on everyone by forcing queer people to be quiet in the classroom, go back into the closet, and you don't even understand the ways in which that same law that you're pushing will affect heterosexual couples. Because believe it or not, to say, this is my wife, your mommy and your daddy, you are introducing the concept of sexual orientation into the classroom.
Correct. So like when these authoritarian fucks make this rule, keep in mind that its primary purpose, of course, is to hit these marginalized communities. But it isn't just going to affect them. As we see, it isn't just going to affect them. This affects everybody, okay? The, targeted groups like the LGBTQ community in this instance is the primary target. But make no mistake, these authoritarian fucks do not care. And it will end up affecting you.
Is it in an age-appropriate manner? Yes. But they'll contend that if you were to say, this kid, Dylan, has two dads, well, they think that's not age-appropriate. Any and all LGBTQ plus references need to be cleansed. But if you mention mommy and daddy, that's not sexual orientation. Lady, do you know what sexual orientation is or gender identity is? By him saying lady to you, that alone is invoking gender identity, right? To say Mr., Mrs., to use pronouns, that is invoking gender identity. We do it so frequently that we don't even realize when we're doing it, right? But this imbecile right here thinks that she is protecting children by banning discussions of sexual orientation in classrooms, not realizing that, oops, that's going to apply to straight people too.
Or should apply. Should.
We're actually trying to interpret the bill as objectively as possible. That's going to affect straight people. And I would encourage any single teacher in these states to comply with these new laws as maliciously as possible. There was one teacher in Florida that was basically, since you can't invoke gender identity, she said, okay, well, I'm just going to refer to all of my students using gender neutral pronouns. That's what we're going to do. That's the way you want it. This is what the law says. So I'm just being cautious here. I didn't write the law, you did. So I'm just doing what you want me to do. I think that that's what you really need to do, because these idiots don't realize that what they're doing will affect them too. Now, you might ask, well, why don't they just say gay people specifically?
Yeah.
Why are they vague saying
Well, because it's on purpose. To my understanding, it's probably because of federal protections against discrimination.
sexual orientation? Well, first and foremost, you can't, because that's unconstitutional. You
Right,
can't
there we go. Yep.
target a group on the basis of their sexual orientation or any other immutable characteristic. Now, second of all, they write these laws very purposefully vague, all to make sure that it has the broadest reach imaginable, meaning that if you don't really know how to interpret a particular law, odds are you're going to play it safe to avoid litigation. So you be overly cautious, because if you write these bills with a level of specificity that lets these teachers know what is and isn't appropriate, then you're not accomplishing what you ultimately want to accomplish. So you be as vague as possible, as far-reaching as possible, and that's how you, in their view, eliminate sexual orientation out of the classroom. But if you're going to get rid of gay sexual orientation or bisexual sexual orientation, you got to get rid of straight sexual orientations as well. So that means we don't get to hear about Eleanor Roosevelt. We don't get to hear about anyone's husband or wife, because all of that is tantamount to invoking sex and sexual orientation in the classroom. So yeah, I love to see them questioned about this, because these people are absolute rubes. They're just bigoted. They're ignorant.
Yeah, they're just bigoted. That's really it. They're just really angry, and they're all up in their feels, and they're passing legislation specifically to target the people that they are currently bigoted against.
And that's it. There's nothing more to say about this. They're just fucking stupid. Period. End of story. And when you just apply even a minimal amount of scrutiny to their beliefs, they crumble. They can't defend it, because it's just hate in the purest form.
True. True. So let's talk about authoritarianism. Alio with the 15 biddies, thank you so much. 3 Texas women sued for wrongful death after aiding an abortion. Yep, it's happening, folks. 3 women in Texas are being sued for wrongful death by a man who claims that they helped his now ex-wife obtain medication for an abortion. So, okay, medication. That tells me that this was probably within the first, very early in the pregnancy, if you can do it by medication, which is how 90% of the, over 90% of abortions are done anyways. And now, this person, this ex-husband, is now trying to enforce his will. Basically saying, well, you didn't do what I wanted with your body. You took a decision. You took a decision about what you were going to do with your own body, and I didn't really like that. So now I'm going to sue you for wrongful death. Wrongful death of who? Of whom? I mean, anyways, it's another test of state-enforced bans since the Supreme Court overturned the Roe v. Wade decision. In a lawsuit filed late Thursday in Galveston County, Marcus Silva alleges that assisting in a self-administered abortion is tantamount to aiding a murder. Yeah. Silva seeking $1 million in damages. Yeah, okay, dude. $1 million? Hey, Cosmic Seeking, how are you? Bet you beat me with that time change? Yeah. Yep. It happens. I would also like to, just kind of reiterate the fact that, these conservatives, this ideology is so fucking pernicious. The idea that you would get upset for someone exercising bodily autonomy is a massive red flag, okay? And a party, an ideology that doesn't believe in the fundamental concept of bodily autonomy is just simply just needs to be defeated. They just simply should not be held. They should not win elections. There was some D-bag caller on C-SPAN this morning on the Democrat line suggesting a compromise that abortions be legal as long as the bio dad gave consent. The host didn't push back at all. Oh, yeah, dude, as long as the... What? Again, that completely violates the whole point of being pro-choice. The whole point is that you get to choose what you do with your own body. The fuck? Man, that's so cringe. Oh, man, that's so cringe. I would have like responded with like, so if you wanted to do a procedure, if you wanted to get like a vasectomy, do you need your wife's permission? Like we need that consent. If you wanted to go tomorrow to that guy, if you wanted to go tomorrow to get a tattoo, there should be a law that requires your wife to have consent, right? That's how this works. Of course, the correct answer would be like, no, I get to do whatever I want to. If I wanted to go tomorrow and completely like sleeve up my entire right hand, I should be able to do that. Okay? There should be nothing, legally speaking, a government should be doing to prevent that. The same goes for what a woman does as well with her own body. And also, again, you are also not entitled to anybody else's body. Okay? Man. It's just weird. No wonder conservatives have such a problem with the concept of consent. Jesus. The lawsuit filed, blah, blah, 1 million. I need to see the evidence that would prove that there's even standing for this case. Dude started with, I'm all for bodily autonomy, but... So you're not. So you're not. That's a good meme. Thank you, Bob Dragon. Is this insane MAGA conservative surge fueled by extreme social liberalism? What? Is fueled by extreme social liberalism. I agree about a woman's body, but this analog, hence the sensible countries, have a limit on the terms of abortion. I have no idea what this is even meaning or relevant to the discussion, because the whole point is like, the whole point is that a person has the right to choose, period, full stop, and nobody should be forcing themselves. There shouldn't be a scenario where you are forced to give up your autonomy for somebody else, regardless. And furthermore, having this like stupid like conversation about like, well, countries have like limits on the terms of abortions. Well, yeah, no shit. Nobody's talking about having like an abortion in like the 9th month, okay? Nobody's talking about that because it doesn't happen, okay? It doesn't happen. You know what happens? Generally, the person wants the child or is given up for adoption, or is there's some grave medical condition that involves inducing an abortion at like such a late stage pregnancy. So it's not even a conversation worth having, okay? It's not even worth having. When you talk about absolute terms, you become a radicalizing force for the other side. Well, I'm interested in what's right. And I think that having the choice of what you do with your body, it's really that simple, okay? It is literally that simple. I get to choose what I want to do to my own body as long as it does not affect anybody else. Okay? That's the goal here. It's really that simple. I get to choose what I want to do with my body as long as it doesn't affect anybody else. That's it. It's not that simple. You just said you're not interested in term. In term what? I'm talking about, I'm not interested in having a conversation about, well, there are obviously limits. Yeah, because people aren't having abortions at this stage, at this late stage. Why would you have an abortion at a late stage pregnancy? Okay? The only reason you would be having an abortion at a late stage pregnancy is because of some wild medical condition, or there's no other options left. Okay? That's why we're not even talking about it, because it's not a conversation that we're even at. Okay? You want to talk about a radicalizing force? Conservatives eliminated Roe v. Wade. Okay? Conservatives eliminated Roe v. Wade. No. You got it backwards, my friends. You got it backwards. Conservatives were the ones who did it. Conservatives were the ones who were threatening to do this for fucking decades, okay? Do you understand that? Conservatives have been doing this for fucking decades. So don't try that. It just doesn't work. It just doesn't work here. It just doesn't make any sense. Okay? This whole movement, this whole like anti-Roe and anti-choice movement has been brewing for decades. Okay? So don't tell me that like, oh, you're just radicalizing you're just mobilizing or that kind of if you don't finesse the conversation, you're gonna mobilize. No, they've already mobilized. They've been doing this, okay? They've been doing this. They're the ones who didn't respect bodily autonomy. They're the ones who crossed that line, okay? They're the ones who did it. They're the ones who crossed the line. The UK fetuses delivered before 25th did not get registered as a birth or given a funeral. Right, because, hey, guess what? Based on the fact of biology, generally speaking, 24 weeks or under is below viability. That's why they chose that number. It's not out of nowhere. They don't get registered as a birth, but because beforehand, that's the viability point, more or less, depending. It's an average, but yeah. Because it's not a person. Anyways. The TLDR is that no one here is mobilizing the nuts, okay? Or whatever your words, not mine. They did that. They made that decision, okay? They crossed that line. I just want to make that clear. Does that make sense? They crossed that line. Great, now that we agree, revoking Roe versus Wade was bad. Excellent. Who did that? Who started it? Who's been working at it for decades? Listen, bro, it's very simple. I'm gonna do my spiel again because you're new here. but I do this like almost ad nauseum. I can almost remember like my spiel. It's very simple, okay? The abortion debate is fundamentally about bodily autonomy. Am I the only new guy? No, but you're the one that's here now. I'm pretty sure you're not the only new guy. I didn't say that. But you're the one that's talking, so I'm addressing you. So I'm going to give you my spiel. Fundamentally, what this is about is bodily autonomy. You either believe in it or you don't. You either believe in the choice that somebody should have the right to self-determination or you don't. In other words, what I mean is that you should choose what you can and cannot do with your body, so long as it does not affect others. An important addition to this concept of bodily autonomy is that you are also not entitled to anybody's body. Period. Even in death, even when you are dead, you must have explicit consent. Usually, here in the States, when you sign your license or ID, what does it say? It says organ donor, right? You have given explicit consent to be able to touch your body, to harvest your body, to save somebody else. The government's only business here is to protect that right. That's it. This is it. It's that simple. If you have some weird moral objection, I'm not saying that you do. I'm saying that for the people that do have an objection to abortions, whether it be moral or religious, whatever, you don't have to have one. However, you also don't get to dictate what the rest of people get to do. It's that simple. There you go. My point was just about presentation. I'm not really interested in the whole presentation thing. I'm gonna be honest. I see people shouting women's bodies and killing babies. It's literally just about bodily autonomy. That was my point. I don't see the argument for this is a bit complicated. Women should have the right to abortion. Women should have the right to choose. That's it. That's the pro-choice argument. That is the only correct response. The only correct response is, hey, yeah, dude, you do you. That's literally the only correct response. Unless it affects somebody else, and unless it affects others, the only correct response to, hey, I want to do X is, yeah, dude, you do you. Whatever. You are a presenter. Yeah, yes. Okay. Well, it does affect the baby. What baby? You mean the clump of cells at like the first trimester? No, the baby is not dead. That's not a person. Okay? You are a person. The person who is pregnant is here and now. Does not affect the baby. There is no person there. And furthermore, again, that person, if you are to even make that concession, if you're going to make that concession, that person is not entitled to your body either. Oh man. No. 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 They don't. That's the thing. They don't. There's only one person here who has that right, and that's the person here and now. And furthermore, so if we take your logic to its natural conclusion, you should be forced to keep somebody else alive because you are compatible with an organ or whatever. You should be compelled by the state then if that's correct, then you should be compelled by the state to surrender your bodily autonomy to keep somebody alive because you happen to have the correct compatibility, right? You both have rights. That person and you. So now you have to give up your bodily autonomy to keep that X person alive, right? You're okay with that? You okay with that? Because that's the that's the logic to your conclusion. That's the only natural conclusion to your logic. If both have rights, then you're saying that there are two people involved, and I just said that you are not entitled to anybody's body. So what you're saying is that we should have a society where you are going to be compelled by the state to surrender your bodily autonomy to keep somebody else alive. Sensible. Oh man, you're anything but, my friend, as you just proved. It doesn't take that long. It doesn't take that long. These clowns always show themselves. These clowns always show themselves. So what you're saying is that you just want a society where people are going to be compelled by the state to relinquish bodily autonomy at any given point because, hey, you know, the violinist has that rare blood type and you do too, so you got to give it up to keep them alive. No. You literally just called them a person. You called them both equal parties. You called them a person. You can't have it both ways. Do you see how unsensible this is? You can't have it both ways. So that means there aren't two people in this, right? Or are there? I don't know, because you're confusing me right now. Are there two people involved? No, it doesn't matter if they're equal or not. Are there two people involved, yes or no? So what you're saying is one person should relinquish bodily autonomy, period. And it just so happens that that person is the pregnant person. So they're two humans. Okay, so yes, so you're correct. So okay, so again, I go back to my original dystopic fucking worldview that you have, where you should be compelled by the state to relinquish your bodily autonomy to keep somebody else alive. So yeah, so again, you're oh man, dude, phenomenal stuff, folks. This is why this is why conservatism is just bad. It's just bad for the brain, folks. It really is. It really is. Two humans. So again, we come back to the worldview where you want the state, to force you to relinquish bodily autonomy to keep somebody else alive. Is politics the Biden Joe? Yes. Anyways. The woman who took the medication in July after weeks of the Supreme Court struck down the constitutional right to an abortion. I'm not at all conservative. This is maybe not here, but this is all a this all comes down from like conservative ideology, okay? Because nowhere on the left are you going to see people advocating the relinquishment of bodily autonomy. That's just not a thing. If you are basically going against the very concept of bodily autonomy, that should be a massive red flag. That should be a massive red flag in which you are very, very, very openly demonstrating that you are. Most people find the limit on terms very sensible. But that's not what you're talking about, is it? There they go. All right. Anyways, so the last bit on this before I actually move on. Thank you, Michael Hassler, for keeping me on, keeping me straight. Sometimes I just get way too carried away, but yeah, thank you. The last point I'll say on this is that, no, you're not being sensible, because fundamentally, you just literally said that there's two people involved. There's no other way of going back. There's no other conclusion. There's no other conclusion other than you actually don't really believe in bodily autonomy. There's no sensible solution there except, well, you must relinquish that according to you. Are we debating a fresh account? That always ends well. True. You know what? That's my fault. Thank you to Michael Hassler for keeping us on the rails. Sorry about that. You're right. Yeah, you can't have it both ways. If there are two people, then what you're saying is that you want a world where one person must always relinquish bodily autonomy to keep another person alive. That's it. Do I like Trump? No. What the fuck? Does this look like a... Yeah, dude. Hey, channels that are pro-Trump usually put lefty streamer, progressive, politics, leftist stream. Yeah, dude. Usually streams that have those tags are usually very pro-Trump streams. Did the circus end early today or what? MAGA communism. True. Oh, that's right. You know what? You're right. I could be a MAGA communist. Oh, man. True. Let's keep going. We'll see what they have to say. If they're not, yeah, no, I'm not really interested. Like they're not interested in actually having any kind of serious discussion. We tried, folks. We tried. All right. Had been placed in 1973. It is not named in the lawsuit. Texas law protects women who get an abortion from being held liable. So how does this make any sense? Abortion rights groups condemned the lawsuit, calling it an intimidation tactic. This is an outrageous attempt to scare people from getting abortion care and intimidate those who support friends, family, and community in their times of need, said Autumn Katz, a lawyer of the Center for Reproductive Rights. On Friday, the extremists behind this lawsuit are twisting the law and judicial system to threaten and harass people seeking essential care and those who help them. Silva is being represented by Jonathan Mitchell, a former Texas solicitor who helped create one of the state's abortion bans. Of course, this makes a lot of sense. This makes a lot of sense. I'm wondering why this isn't working anymore. Fudge. Nah, whatever. Anyone involved in distributing or manufacturing abortion pills will be sued into oblivion. According to the lawsuit, the manufacturer of the pills will also be named as a defendant once it's identified in the discovery process. Jesus. The lawsuit claims it's a text message from among the women discussing how to obtain medication that could induce an abortion and how to aid the woman who's pregnant and planning to take the medication. Lawsuits challenging abortion restrictions have risen across the U.S. As clinics have closed down in the Republican-dominated states. Earlier this week in Texas, which has one of the strictest bans in the country, outlawing the procedure in nearly every case with the exception of medical emergencies, 5 women who said they were denied abortions even when pregnancy endangered their lives sued the state. Yeah, this is the problem here. This is the problem here. Because of those 5 women, some of them even wanted their child, but medical complications happened, which is exactly what I was talking about. The reason why I don't even address this idea of well, there should be, yeah, dude, Nobody's having an abortion at the late term unless some fucking wild medical shit happens, okay? Jesus. When somebody had to go to Florida from Louisiana to have an abortion because her baby was going to be born with no skull. Yep. And sometimes in some of those cases, that person may have even wanted the child. But, you know, it's a thing that happens. These states are... Cruelty is the point, by the way. The states are going to be in crisis as healthcare workers leave their position in red states. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. I mean, why would you even want to be here as a healthcare professional? At any given point, your job can be threatened. So that would piggyback into this, because again, it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop when you have my point earlier. When you have an ideology, overactive compassion gene, when you have a ideology, a political party, a movement that fundamentally does not believe in bodily autonomy, okay, all bets are off from there, and it's not going to stop. And why this whole Roe versus Wade thing is so important. It was so important to pay attention to, and why people are talking about this for years, especially when it was, right into as the Trump era started. It was so important because Republicans fundamentally are incompatible with democracy. It's just not. It's not a thing that they believe. It's just not a thing that they actually fundamentally believe in. No matter what they tell you, no matter how much, freedom and all this other, bullshit that they decide to talk about, they don't actually care about any of that. Hey, Carpe, how's it going? They actually don't care about any of that. And this whole Roe versus Wade thing is a precursor. They were never going to stop at Roe versus Wade. It was never about that. Their goals to return to slavery would not... it would not surprise me if we start getting laws like that. A chud flood, if you will. Oh, yeah, no. Circus ended early. Circus ended early today. Just like they won't stop at trans people, the entire LGBT... Oh, yeah, no, they're not going to stop. Like, this whole idea, because, like, think about it, Salty Kami. If they don't believe in, like, the concept of bodily autonomy, of course they're going to target, more marginalized people. Of course they're going to target trans people and the rest of the LGBTQ community. Of course. They don't believe in bodily autonomy. All bets are off once that happens. If you come to a head with an ideology that fundamentally does not believe in the right for, you do whatever the fuck you want to do to your own body, as long as it doesn't affect other people, you should have the absolute freedom to do whatever it is that you want to do with your own body. I mean, the government at least has no business here, except to enforce or to protect that right. Of course, the next logical conclusion is it's not going to stop. They don't care. The majority of normies will not care about any of this until they start becoming marginalized themselves. Like when they start going after atheists, it'll be too late. Oh man, as we brought up in stream earlier today, they could pass legislation so only the people who can govern are white Christian men. Yep. Oh yeah, Echo Wrestle Dragon. Actually, that's a great point to kind of piggyback off what Carpet said. Yeah, they're bringing back child labor. I've been listening to the book Before the Storm by Rick Pearson about a fight between the extreme right and liberal wings of the Republican Party in the 60s. The segregationists just went into dog whistle mode and they homeschooled their kids. Yeah, wasn't that like the whole idea the whole idea of like the Southern strategy, right? Wasn't that like the whole concept of the Southern strategy? Like, yeah, dude, we can't be like outwardly bigoted and like outwardly racist. So we're just gonna have to fall back on the dog whistles and talk about like taxes and all that. Things like that. So, yeah, Goldwater. Yeah. The Southern strategy. Yeah. Exactly. They were the compromise. Jesus Christ. Yikes. Oh, yeah. That's when private Christian schools started popping up everywhere. Yep. Yeah, this all makes sense. Oh, and backlash against FDR's New Deal, going back to the 30s and 40s, and then the endless quest to defund public schools. Yep. And civil rights is their mortal enemy. It means communism to them. Yeah, I mean, yep. Nowadays they just fall back to like the default, like nowadays it's called woke or whatever. The ruling elite will play the long game. They were plotting to overturn the New Deal before Roosevelt was even dead. Well, I mean, capital does tend to have its fallback. Yep. Woke is just the new satanic panic. About 15 years ago, it was SJW. Yep. Hail Satan, true. Alright, so piggybacking off this, Republicans push waves of bill that would bring homicide charges for abortion. And make no mistake, like, this isn't gonna just happen in one state, okay? Because this is how it starts. It starts in one state, and if it's successful, it starts propagating in other red states, which is why I brought attention to that bill that was being presented in the Florida Congress. Florida right now has a Republican supermajority or comfortable majority. They are attempting to pass. It was a bill that was proposed that would effectively, the end result of that bill effectively would decertify the Democratic Party in Florida. and essentially kick off all the registered, Democratic folks off the rolls. It decertifies the party. They would have to go through the whole entire registration process and all this other stuff to get it, under a different name, of course. And they would have to do all that. Should it pass, or should it become, a viable legislation that is passed, that might pass, then this could set the stage for other copycat laws. If it's for some reason it becomes successful, it means it passes, and someone like Ron DeSantis would be more than happy to sign it if it comes to his desk. Make no mistake. Somebody like Ron DeSantis would be more than happy to sign something like that. And that could set the stage for other states to start doing the same. So every time things like this come up, you absolutely have to bring attention to it. Hey, Justine, how's it going? It is a power grab. What's the opposite of what we want? Is the Republican Party that has to go? Yeah, but Here is an incredibly, authoritarian, move, and it's again just proof that the Republican Party is just fundamentally incompatible with democracy. It's just not a thing. They're just incapable. It's just not a thing. Heat resubscribing for a tier 1 sub, 22 months. Jeez. Wow, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you. Way to make an entrance. How's it going? I hope you're doing all right. Yeah, once you've captured the SCOTUS, which they have, what's to stop any of this? I assume a long-term purpose of these BS laws are to get a case to the SCOTUS to declare a fetus with personhood. I mean, Texas tried that. Georgia tried that. Didn't they try saying that a fetus or something like that was eligible if you file your taxes? You can actually declare your fetus as an independent. Yeah, they can. Yeah, whatever sticks, exactly. The more power people like DeSantis exerts, the more appealing you will be to authoritarian personalities. Yep. Good to see you. Good to see you. Thank you. It is a good time to jump in. This is the main story. For decades, the mainstream anti-abortion movement promised that it would not believe women who had abortions should be criminally charged. Yeah, it's a unfallacious slippery slope. Okay, it was never about being anything other than control, being about control. That's it. Because fundamentally, again, when you have a movement, an ideology, or a party that fundamentally does not believe in bodily autonomy, this is what you get. The ruling I saw from SCOTUS doesn't about any of these cases. Was basically they didn't have the legal framework to rule on it, but if someone comes up with it, they'll do it. Yep. Yeah. I mean, didn't our friend Justice Clarence Thomas say that, should the right case come about, we should revisit the other the other rulings about marriage equality and things like that? Yeah. Cool. Fascism hits a critical mass. You have to prevent it, and the Dems can't do it. No, the Dems are doing a fantastic job of dropping the ball at every fucking point when it comes to this. But now Republican lawmakers in several U.S. states have introduced legislation proposing homicide and other criminal charges for those seeking abortion care. The bills have been introduced in states such as Texas, Kentucky, South Carolina, Oklahoma, and Arkansas and explicitly target medication, abortion, and self-managed abortion, which medication, by the way, is just fucking pills, okay? And usually done at a very early stage because that's the point. You would just need medication. That's it. It is like the most simplistic of options as possible and the most used. Alec and other similar groups are hyperdrive right now. Sheesh. Capital? Yeah. It's almost as if that's the Democrats' role. Well, the Democrats are more liberal in more liberal in nature, and while like liberal ideas, the I guess flaw is that they are not well equipped to deal with fascists. We've seen this story before, folks. Let's revisit the Second Amendment. Yeah, that's the sacred one, right? That's the sacred one, you know? You want to talk about the Second Amendment simultaneously while denying people the right to bodily autonomy is just fucking rich. Not to provide token and effective resistance to the Republicans, more precisely the ruling elite that backed the Republicans' agenda. This is just capitalist. Unfortunately, here, I think that like the capitalism, the system that we have right now, is nurturing this kind of ecosystem. This political system here is the only way it got to the point that it is because. It's because effectively capitalists have decided that this is the way it's going to be. They are enablers because they promise with no real intentions of delivering. They aren't the countervalence force to the right. True. Fascists will steamroll civility politics 100% all the time. And when confronted, it's funny because they'll steamroll civility politics all day, every day. But when confronted and being directly opposed and confronted and called out, they fall back to civility politics. It's the funniest shit. If you've ever debated or if you've ever confronted a fascistic or fascist person, they immediately fall back to civility politics. It's the most ironic thing. Yeah, gaslighting. Yep. Trump is live? Oh boy. Anyway. Some explicitly target medication abortion and self-managed abortion. Again, the point being is that this is usually done very early stages, and it's the most this is the most like non-intrusive way. And they want to remove that. It's also the most common way. So they want to remove that. To remove provisions in the law which previously protected pregnant people from criminalization, and others look to establish the fetus as a person from the point of conception. Right, so like our friend that was arguing earlier was trying to make this point. Explain to me how this isn't a conservative, this isn't coming from like a conservative point of view. Even though they tried to claim that they weren't conservative. Yeah, so essentially, again, this goes back to the same argument that I made. Okay? If you are classifying this clump of cells or this fetus as a person, you are essentially saying you want a world where the state can come in and say you do not have bodily autonomy, and you need to surrender that to another person because that is a person. Now you need to surrender that bodily autonomy to keep that person alive. You do not have bodily autonomy. Right. They said they were pro-abortion. It's often when they either throw out their black friend argument or claim to be a part of some marginalized group themselves, or in a more ridiculous scenario, they claim that they're being called. Right. Yeah, like if you really confront some of these type of people, you'll be like, whoa, dude, you're calling me whatever. Yeah. Whoa, bro, I don't know, man. That's kind of too far. You know, this is why they say that the radical left calls everything that they see racist. Yeah, like the classic. You're the real racist. Yeah, I've seen this. I've seen this song and dance before. It's just wild that that they will steamroll civility politics all day, but when actually confronted, they revert back to the like, hey, wait, we're just trying to have a conversation, you know? Like, if that's the case, well, then you're the real, yeah, whatever, dude. Okay. It's highly unlikely that all these bills will pass, but their proliferation marks a distinct departure from the language of existing bans and abortion restrictions, which typically exempt people from seeking abortion care from criminalization. Right. Because that's the point. That's the point. It is an unfallacious, slippery slope. And again, it doesn't matter if these bills pass or not. It's a test. It's a test to see what they can get away with. And if it does pass, then you can best believe all of these states will start to begin to deploy this. Right, I'm just asking questions, bro. Dude, it's just a joke. We call that Schrodinger's asshole. We call that Schrodinger's asshole, where if you confront somebody, and if you make a very horrendous statement, and there's no pushback, then great. You keep going. But if you do get pushback, you just say it's a joke, right? So that's Schrodinger's asshole. This exposes the fundamental lie of the anti-abortion movement that they oppose criminalization of pregnant people, said Dana Sussman, the acting executive director of Pregnant Justice. See, they're no longer hiding behind that rhetoric, right? Because they don't have to anymore. They don't have to. Some members of the anti-abortion movement have made it clear the bills do not align with their views, continuing to insist that abortion providers rather than pregnant people themselves should be targeted by criminal abortion laws. Okay, but you're still criminalizing a basic healthcare procedure. And how do you explain to the pregnant people that had to suffer, had to go to different states, had to wait till they were almost fucking dead, are now with permanent damage to their body because they had to wait until they were deemed, in trouble enough medically. Some of which even wanted the child. How do you, with a conscious look at those people, look at these women, and say, My hypothesis is that we need to understand the strategies to deal with the individual psychopaths and narcissists applied at the societal level, because I think that's what the right and GOP MAGA is in functioning in a predictable way that can be defeated. I don't know. We pose penalties for mothers who are second victim to predatory abortion industry, said the chief media and policy strategist, Students for Life. Yeah, fuck you. We went to see $1 billion set up by profit and preying on women, and the preborn held account. What? Preying on women? Bro, what are you talking about? The pro-life movement has this is not a pro-life anything. This is not a pro-life anything. Echo the same sentiment, blah, blah, blah. The bills are likely to be controversial as they proceed, even within conservative circles. Republicans have frequently hit walls when trying to pass anti-abortion legislation, with lawmakers at odds over exactly how far they should go. The Reproductive Justice Organization, If When How, points out these bills are an indication of different wings and splinter groups in the anti-abortion movement, and increasingly evident since the Dobbs decision last year. What we're seeing is post-Dobbs the splintering in tactics that abortion opponents are using, an emboldening part on the part of the more hardline factions of the movement. This has always been an undercurrent. So Diaz Tello, said Farah Diaz-Talo, Senior Counsel of Legal Director of IFWA and HOW. As we see other abortion opponents declare their opposition to criminalizing of people and their pregnancies, this is the opportunity for them to really step up and put those principles into action. These bills are being introduced in Arkansas, Texas, Kentucky, and South Carolina, looking to establish that life begins at conception, which again, this is nonsense. This is nonsense. This is only a concept in this religious zealot Christian belief that is being now forced upon the people of these states, or attempting to be forced down the throats of these people. And consequently, it's not going to end there. It's only a thing for people who want to control women. Correct. It's all about the control. Which it goes back to my original statement. I mean, a political movement, an ideology, a party that fundamentally does not believe in bodily autonomy is massive. Gives off a massive red flag, and they're not going to stop there, because if they do that, then all bets are off. Homicide is punishable by death in all those states, which, yeah. Bills in Oklahoma, South Carolina, and Texas also explicitly target medication abortion, which so far has fallen into a legal gray zone in much of the country. A bill in Alabama also been announced, although yet not been introduced, by Republican Representative Ernest Yarbrough, that would establish fetal personhood. Look, that's what our fucking clown was saying earlier. From conception and repeal section of the Alabama abortion ban that explicitly prevents homicide charges for abortion. The state law could make abortion a Class A felony on the same level as homicide, but exempts women seeking abortions from being held criminal or civilly liable. The laws that establish fetal personhood also bring the risk of opening pregnant people up to battery and assault charges for endangering a fetus. Such charges have already been documented in hundreds of cases using criminal laws championed in recent decades by the anti-abortion movement that recognize fetuses as potential victims. Well, then they're not victims. How could you... Okay. Anyways, I would also like to point out that these people are so pro-life that they're willing to invoke the death penalty to enforce it. Arm the pregnant. True. Life began over 1 million years ago. Ever since, it has been a continuation of the cycle of life. True. It never starts or stops with abortion. True. Yep, SV Harkin, I think we're about to cross into that. That means not getting prenatal care, not taking prenatal vitamins, working a job that is physically demanding. All of those things can impose risk to the fetus, and that could be a child neglect or child abuse case. Such law has been used to target pregnant people who have been prescribed medication, taken illegal drugs, or drunk alcohol if pregnant, even when there's no adverse outcome on the fetus. Some of the bills, such as the one in Arkansas, allow a partner to file an unlawful death suit against a pregnant person who has had an abortion. Exactly. So yeah, dude. Again, imagine getting a lawsuit by a partner because of some choice that you made for yourself. It can be whatever they decide to be a danger of the fetus. Yep. Some of the bill, the ways in which pregnant people could become more of a vessel for an entity that has a separate and unique rights is becoming closer and closer to reality, because that's exactly the point. That's exactly the point. How many times have we said in this channel that the whole that the GOP conservatives or whatever, they only view women as essentially birthing pods. They don't see them as people. The argument should immediately be reframed as a call for socialist policies, because if they don't support them, they don't really care about fetuses. It's a punishment for the stress of poverty. Exactly. It is, and cruelty is the point. They don't care. Yes. There are ways in which this could be used we haven't even contemplated yet. Oh, I bet they have, though. I bet these conservatives have had a few ideas. And it's not going to stop there. It's not going to stop there. It's not going to stop there. All right, folks. So this one is very quick. Because I do have to get going. Speaking of authoritarians, Ron DeSantis, Florida governor, is requesting $98 billion for a Florida State Guard, which is essentially a separate entity to the National Guard, which is weird because, like, why would you need this? Because why would you need this? I mean, it was originally created for home defense in World War II. Yeah, dude. Oh, yeah, World War II. It needs saying that the precursor for this is to help with emergency response measures to back up the Florida National Guard. But you could do that by raising more funding for disaster response. Why not make a Florida, instead of like a federal emergency management, like a federal like FEMA? Why don't you make a state FEMA? Okay, a state emergency management association or whatever agency, a state emergency management association. Why not pour money into that? Because if the actual, because like here's what makes me SEMA, there you go. Here's what makes me question the motives. If you really needed to do this to help with emergency response measures, why is your first thought process to revive a state guard when you already have the National Guard? Shouldn't you just make a emergency management agency that would be for the state then? If you know, especially a state that's very hurricane proof, there's a lot of environmental factors at play. Why not make a robust emergency management system if it's really about that? Yeah, the answer is we know exactly why, which SV Harkin just alluded to. He wants troops who will be loyal to him and not the government. Right. I wonder why DeSantis would want his own paramilitary organization that's not answerable to the POTUS. Yeah, I mean, again, and it's under like the guise of emergency response measures. What emergencies could you possibly be talking about? Like disaster management? Because the National Guard does disaster, does disaster management or disaster response. Yeah, disaster relief. So why not just have a, emergency management agency? Whatever. We have yet to see if this fucker is going to decide to run. We'll see. These clowns are all weak AF, eliminating political parties, building up security forces, crafting laws around your own comfort and feelings. Yeah, well, that's the thing. What's the catchphrase in this channel, folks? Every accusation is just a confession. All this talk about the liberal snowflakes and all this other stuff. Just saying. It's all to attempt to shield your insecurities, which is, let's be quite honest, it is a human thing, but, it's very essential to feel this way, especially in fascistic ideology. You have such insecurity that you need to project that strength. Betsy DeVos contributed to DeSantis campaign. Sheesh. Anyways. Alright, folks. I gotta go get some dinner. I appreciate you guys hanging out here today. Thank you so much. Thank you, Heat, for the tier 1 sub. Thank you, Alio, for the biddies. Thank you to the offline follow. I appreciate that. Let me just do some quick shout outs. Folks, if you haven't already, please consider checking out twitch.tv/carpetpacks. Consider checking out twitch.tv/AlioShare. And yeah, we'll be here Monday through Thursday. If you guys enjoy the content and haven't already, make sure you hit the follow button. You get 6 free emotes. And if you can't support the channel financially and you want to go a step further, go on to the YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button. It really does help us out. We'll be here Monday through Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yep. The plot thickens and then sticks to the bottom of the pan. True. True. Thank you. I appreciate it. You have a good night. Thank you, folks. As always, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love you all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. See ya. Thank you, Sharpie Diesel. Thank you, Michael Hassler. I appreciate it. Peace. Thank you, Maple Leaf Dragon. Appreciate it. All right, folks. Hang tight. We're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See ya.